Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Well, Piston fans, coming back down to earth. Our Pistons got thumped tonight by the Phoenix Suns, 105-97, and the Suns played their star players for a good chunk of the game, more than our star players actually even played, probably. But still, the game was really just decided. It was 60-58 with 8 minutes and 29 seconds left in the third quarter, and with 3 minutes and 36 seconds left in the third quarter, it was 78-58. So they went on an 18-0 run, in that short period of time. So that was really the game. And, we didn't lose by that many points, but still, there's some things to see and take from this game, obviously, like there always is. My big first take that I loved was JB. He started Beasley instead of Hardaway, and I know you guys know I'm not a fan of Hardaway, and he could easily come in and play great this year, and he could have some 20-point games. He could be a difference maker in some games. I wouldn't doubt that, but he takes bad shots a lot of times. He's not consistent, and he doesn't play defense. He doesn't get loose balls. I mean, Beasley goes after it. Beasley's been a dog. He is, he got into it with the Bucks. Obviously, we knew that would happen because he played for the Bucks last year. So, he made that after he made that second three in a row, after the ball was in the air, before it even went in the basket, he turned to the bench and was talking smack. He was geeing up on guys and getting into their grill. And then tonight, he also got into it with Booker. So I think they got double technicals, but he is playing with lots of energy and aggression, and it's good to see. And I talked last episode about him and his prolific three-point shooter. He is one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. And so his defense has been the one thing that's holding him back. Why did he sign for only $6 million? But I really like him, and I'm glad that they started him over Hardaway, and I think we'll see what's going to happen. So that's a big thing that everybody's wondering with Harris and Asar out, and what's going to happen when they come back. Because JB has been known to not play more than 9 players, and even the first half of the first exhibition game, he only played 8 players. And so that shows you something. I love the way JB's doing this. I love the way that he's playing his guys like he's going to during the season, I think. I mean, obviously with guys out, you can't tell you what the rotation is going to be. But he plays, playing 8 guys in the half and rotating them. And if you listen to my first preseason episode last year, I was begging for Monty to stagger Cade and Ivy before the season started. Then throughout the season, I was begging for him to stagger those two. And he's doing it, and it's going to, I think, pay dividends. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I just really like the way that he rotates the lineup much better than, and it's going to be worth wins, just the way the substitution patterns, they just make sense. So one thing, people were really excited. Sasser had a fantastic game in the first preseason game against the Bucks. He had 9 assists. Well, he had some games like this last year. He had games where he was phenomenal. At the beginning of the season, he was shooting like 50% on threes for like the first month or so. But then later as the season went, he had more bad games, and then he still would put in a game here and there where he would all of a sudden shoot really good on the three and get lots of assists and very few turnovers. And he just, again, I mentioned last episode, he is small, he is tiny, and so it is hard to be consistent. But we'll see what happens with him. And we certainly do need a third point guard. If something happens tonight. They never spoke tonight, so Cade played in the first half, did not play a second in the second half. And so obviously something got tight on him or something was sore. Hopefully nothing serious. Hopefully he gets to play. In the next game, we're going to go to Phoenix and play the Suns in another exhibition game. But they played their guns, man. They played, Booker and Durant and Beal, they all played lots of minutes tonight. They played really well. So they're good players. They're some of the best players that ever played. So we'll see what happens when we go to Phoenix. Obviously, that game's not going to be on TV. We play Cleveland, so that'll be the last exhibition game that's televised. And some of our exhibition games are on either 97.1 The Ticket or on AM 950. So I live in northern Michigan, so I don't get those channels. So I don't think I'll be able to get a chance to listen to them. But I'll see. I'll try to follow the box score as it goes along. But a couple more things to take from tonight's game. So Duran had a good solid game. He had 17 points, 6 for 9, 5 for 6 on free throws, 5 rebounds in 23 minutes. That's a good game. But he had 1 assist and 4 turnovers. And, everybody's impressed. He has the potential and the ability to make very good passes. But he's not good and he's not consistent. And last year, he turned it over at a high rate. Him and Stewart had the highest turnover rate on the team, I think, last year. People were harping on Cade, but of course, he had a ball in his hand all the time. And Duran and Stu hardly had it in their hands. So Stu tonight had 2 turnovers and no assists. And he only played, not 16 minutes. So those guys have to, if they want to make tricky passes, and, they talked about JB saying, giving guys the green light if they get a rebound to go with it and push it up the court. Well, I coached, I know, again, I always will say high school coaching is way different than NBA. There's no comparison really, except my post players. I had some that would like to get a rebound and go with it. And they would take off just like Duran. Everybody go, wow, they're dribbling the ball. They're just big guys dribbling the ball down the court. And they get over half court, and then they pick up their dribble. They do fine dribbling the ball up the court, but when they pick it up, they throw it away. And that's what Duran did once tonight. The other thing is that I got so frustrated with last year. He likes to be physical. He likes to be tough, and he is. And he gets the illegal picks called on him. And they need to do something. They need to fine him just as a joke, say, like you got to pay 50 cents every time you get called for an illegal pick. And because he just gets too many of them. It's a turnover. And he likes to be physical and he likes to be tough, a tough guy. But he had two turnovers tonight doing that, where he set illegal picks. Somebody's just got to show him. I would preach to my players, if you're setting a ball screen for a guy, you better not move, because even in northern Michigan with high school refs, they could let the game go. They could let the game be a bloodbath. But if you dared to set a ball screen, and if you had any contact with the defender, they blew the whistle. I don't know why that was, but yeah. So anyway, another thing, Holland. So Holland was very impressive against the Bucks, and I loved it. And he showed signs of what we thought we were getting when we drafted him. And I still like him. But it's still going to be hard when Asar and Tobias come back. So that it's going to make it harder to get him minutes. But we'll see what happens if I just don't see where there's going to be minutes for Hardaway, which is a hard thing because he's a respected veteran. There's been lots of talk by JB and by the players about how these vets have been teaching and how much great leadership they've shown. And it's important. It's really good that they're doing that. And so, but they get respect. I mean, and so here's Hardaway. He's still a decent, good NBA player. Not as good as he thinks he is, in my opinion. But so you set him and don't let him play any minutes on a team that's not very good. Would be insulting, I would think. But I think that's what should happen. I don't think that he should play unless we have injuries or unless we can't score, and then we just need to throw him in there. But I would limit his minutes, or again, if there's injuries, or again, if we just need to get the offense going, if it's struggling, like it did tonight in the third quarter when we couldn't score. We did not score a point for 6 minutes. So, yeah, it's going to be challenging for JB again to work with those veterans and see how many minutes he's going to give them. So, and I think Karras is good, and I've been impressed with Beasley. Beasley is bigger and tougher and stronger than I thought that he was, and he's not afraid to be physical. So that was good to see. So Ivy was good again. Ivy was really good again. I didn't emphasize it enough. Against the Bucks, he scored 22 points on 8 shots. So when you want to check about how good a player is, how efficient they are, that's the best stat. There's no stats can be tricky a lot of times, but I've always would show my players, and I'd always show even my daughter, my granddaughter here. Here's Michael Jordan. He was 9 for 21 this game, and everybody says he's the greatest player ever. So they don't always have great games, but some guys you're 9 for 29, 9 for 21, and you get a few free throws, and all of a sudden you score 20 points, and you didn't shoot that great. Or I've seen where Michael would be 6 for 19. Anyway, but when you're scoring 22 points and playing like 23 minutes, and you're only taking 8 shots, that is phenomenal. And so he wasn't quite as efficient tonight. Tonight he scored 16 points on 13 shots. That's still really good. So he was 6 for 13. He's only 1 for 4 on threes, and he didn't get to the line as much. He does get to the line, and when he goes a million miles an hour, he don't get the bucks. He shot in only 20 some minutes. He shot 9 free throws. Well, guys can't help it. They see him coming, and they can't help. He's going so fast, it's hard not to foul him. So that's a good thing for us. And JB talked about that, before the season started, even before the first preseason game. So, Beasley, I think, is a bad boy. I think he's bringing it, and I think he's gonna give us that little edge. Disappointed in Tech. I still believe in him. I still think Simone Fontecchio is going to be a huge player for us. He starts in both games, and I think that he should start 25 minutes, only 3 for 12, but 2 for 5 on threes, which is 40%. 4 rebounds, 8 points, and Ivy had a good game. Cade only played 18 minutes, and so 1 for 6 and 0 for 2 on threes, and 1 for 1 from the line, which he didn't draw the foul. He shot technical, 2 rebounds, but somehow 18 minutes he had 8 assists, and he had some assists that guys missed shots, or he threw a great pass and a guy who was going to get a dunk, and then the guy got fouled, so he didn't get to dunk it because he would have had more assists. He would have had easily 10, and then there was his hockey assist. One of the cool plays of the game was towards the end of the first quarter, I think, and Cade drives to the basket. Ivy, who does a great job of slashing through the lane, and Cade whips it to Ivy, cutting to the basket, and then Ivy instantly dumps it to Duran for a dunk. That was, I think, probably our best play of the game. I really love when you see plays like that, when it goes bang, 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 dunk. So we had Hardaway, 19 minutes. He still played a lot, even though he didn't start. 1 for 5, 1 for 5 on threes, and he was, I think, 0 for 4 on threes in the first game. But he did have 5 rebounds, 3 points. Stu played another good game, only played 16 minutes, but 4 for 7, 1 for 2 on threes, 5 rebounds. Like I said, he did have 2 turnovers and 0 assists, but he's a good player. One of my concerns is I love Paul Reed, and you guys know that. And we all have favorite players, and so when we want them to play, and we see, but how do you not play Duran, and how do you not play Stu? And so Paul Reed was 1 for 2 tonight. Made 1 for 2. He shot 2 threes and made one of them. And the last game he had 4 steals and 2 blocks, and not very many minutes. And that's what he can do. And he's real active defensively. He's our best shot blocker. He blocked a lot of shots last year, averaged over 1 block a game, and we had nobody that really averaged over 1 block a game. So, but again, Beal was 5 for 9, played 20 minutes, and was 2 for 4 on threes, had 12 points. Kevin Durant, we're witnessing, he is definitely one of the greatest players in NBA history, and it's always fun to watch him play. He had only 19 minutes. He had 21 points, 8 for 12, 4 for 6 on threes, 7 foot tall, and he could just do stuff, man. Booker's struggled, and Booker, he's from Michigan, and he always supports like the Tigers and the Lions and stuff, and he brought all of Michigan State players some of his shoes, his Nike shoes, and gave everybody on the team a pair, and they were green. That was really cool of him. So it was cool on the broadcast tonight. They talked to Izzo, and that was always fun to listen to that. So he's meant a lot to our state also. But things like this happen. Ryan Dunn scores 3 for 5 on threes. He was terrible. He's a rookie. Excuse me. He was a terrible shooter in college. He was a great defender. But anyway, tough loss for tonight. We're going to get back at it again. Hopefully Harris gets better and Sarr gets better. But be the reason somebody feels loved and cared for, and Gold Pistons.